you all. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure to meet with you, albeit virtually. It's again, it has obviously been a tough year for everybody, but we've adjusted. And again, no doubt you're all familiar with Zoom at this stage and so on. So love it or loathe it, it is our way of communicating nowadays. And frankly, it has been a bit of a lifesaver for us because really, it was almost this time last year. I guess it was St. Patrick's Day really last year that we had that famous announcement from Lear Varadkar over in Washington, outlining that we suddenly had to go off and move online more or less with 2 days notice, but thankfully we managed it okay. And indeed nowadays there are lots of benefits to online, and indeed I wouldn't be the one to bet that will not still be online come September. But anyway, if online or otherwise, I'm sure you're going to enjoy the experience. It really has been a smooth transition. It's worked very well, and certainly there's many a wet Wednesday evening or Saturday morning when I'm rather glad that I can actually simply go to my office rather than actually have to head up to DCU or into the Clarion as we used to do. So again, as I say, our course has, just to give you an outline of what we'll chat about this afternoon, and really it's as much about the Q&A as it is about my presentation. A lot of this detail is already on the website, but nevertheless, probably not the worst thing in the world. It's an easy way for you to pick up on the detail. So I'll start off with a little bit of background on the course, then we'll discuss what material we're covering, again, what the outline of the course actually is, and then how exactly we're going to deliver the course. And then finally, the entry requirements for those who want, if you want to get onto the course, and ultimately, what's the purpose of it all? Again, the purpose is to enhance your career, and we'll discuss what those career opportunities have been and will be in the future. So again, by way of background, again, as I say, we are the longest running, and again, I'd like to think that there's something in that. The fact that we have lasted this long suggests that we must be doing something right, and indeed, I think we are. To be honest, the feedback has been substantially positive, and again, it's very reassuring that we get those kind of comments. So it is literally the longest running, most successful master's program in Ireland. I mean, there isn't any other finance masters. Obviously, the MBA and UCD has been going for a lot longer than that, but so the finance masters, it's certainly the longest running. And established in 1990, so 30 years on the go. It really is a long one. I have to say at this stage, and in case the actual bald head didn't age me, I'm actually an alumnus of the 1992 class. So I was the second cohort that came in 1991, from 91 to 93, and I have to say it changed. It certainly changed the course of my career. And again, I'd like to think that it'll enhance yours too, should you choose to come and join us. So at this stage, we have over 650 graduates. As I say, you've had not quite 30 graduating classes yet, but we will have 20 or 29th graduating class this year. And again, as I say, I could mention many names that are, but whether it's let's say the head of funding at the NTMA, or whether it's the finance director of Ulster, and sorry, Paul, for your more recent troubles. And again, it's a head of investing in Mercer, senior individuals across Irish life, any number of different industries, they're there, and obviously multiple individuals. I think that's the last time I looked at the senior management in the Central Bank of Ireland. I think I identified 15 separate alumni on the senior management chart. So again, basically, what is our mandate? Our mandate from the very beginning was to meet the needs of industry. In fact, it was formed by a collaboration of the financial services industry in Ireland, FSI, as well as them, and they came to various different universities, and they came to DCU. They saw we responded, and again, as I say, the rest is history. So again, our genesis, if you like, our raison d'etre, is to actually meet the needs of industry. In some universities there, say some stuffy universities, should we say, would more or less pride themselves on, let's say, on delivering pure academic stuff. Well, we of course have the academic rigor, but most importantly, it's an application. So therefore, it is fundamentally focused on what do people need to know to function well within industry, and that is it. That is our primary purpose. And again, with that in mind, the people on whom we rely to deliver our program are indeed themselves practitioner academics, I would say. Again, as we'll talk about individuals in due course, but my own background, for what it's worth, is one whereby I've worked in banking for over 21 years at this stage, And all the way through, I've been an academic. I was previously an academic, just full-time academic. Then I moved out into dare I say it, the real world. Sometimes people think academics are divorced from the real world. Our academics aren't, and therefore I've been, if you like, traveling both routes continuously ever since. So with one foot in the real world and one foot in the world of academia. And again, obviously the joy is to teach this program, because obviously it gives us huge opportunity to interact with people who are working in the field and working at very senior levels, and therefore we have plenty of debates and so on like that. So even in the online environment, I'm delighted to say we still continue to have active discussions during class about issues of the day. So what's the plan? Again, it's 12 modules. Again, you'll find that it's covering the key aspects. As I say at the top, it does what it says in the tin. We try to go off and say, well, look, what do people? I mean, and this was the actual fundament, the outline of the program from the very beginning, and it's been tweaked multiple times ever since. In fact, it's on an ongoing basis. We if you like, evaluate how well are we meeting the needs of the investment community, of the treasury community, and the banking community, and we keep on, as you say, tweaking it to make sure that it's up to date and current in every aspect. So it's intended as, again, we'll mention later on, this is not just simply a postgraduate master's, it's a post-experience postgraduate master's. So in other words, you cannot come to us unless you're working, period. So obviously, if you're graduating, again, as long as you actually have a job to go into, because really what we want to do is we want to make this experience a rich experience. In other words, for every individual comes to it bringing their own particular knowledge of their own workplace, and it's that conversation, that particular local knowledge, the experience of that particular workplace, which makes the discussion in class interesting, and therefore and vibrant, makes the program vibrant. And again, it's part-time for a reason, because all of us are going to be busy executives. We all have full-time jobs besides, and therefore there's an understanding that look, you don't have time to hang around the library. You don't have the time to hang around during the day as you like to call the full-time students have. We are much more focused on getting in there and hearing the lectures, and then going home and working on them, and effectively doing that outside of office hours. So we understand, by the way, it is busy, and I won't apologize for that. I mean, anything that's worth achieving, and there's going to be some pain attaching to it. So it is a commitment. If you think you're heading in for 2 dossiers, this program ain't for you. It's full on. It's for 2 years. But again, it's not. The academic year is actually, and I remind my academic colleagues quite regularly, 2 12-week semesters. It's not a huge ask. So therefore, it's not a heavy burden to bear, shall we say. And again, so it's 3 modules per semester. So 2 by 2 by 3. So you're saying 12 modules in total, and 3 each semester. And the good news is that at the end of each semester, you have the exam. So really, it's typically 12 weeks followed by a 2-week break, followed by a 2-week exam window. And in a sense, you get that lot out of the way, but of course it's building blocks, so it's not that you can go away and forget about it, but the important thing is that you do deal with them immediately afterwards. Sometimes people used to find it quite frustrating when you do a year-long program, when you do something in first semester and it wouldn't get examined until the end of second semester. That's not happening. We are what we call modularized and semesterized. So all these semesters are self-contained. And the only thing that follows through is your dissertation. So we're trying to make this as applied as possible. We want you to go off, therefore, and to take all the knowledge that you're learning and apply that to preferably your own work environment, but certainly some relevant topic, something that is going to contribute to the literature, to use the phrase. And therefore, as I say, it is not. We want it to be very much a practical application, but it's one which you will effectively be offered an opportunity to complete all the way through second year. And as I say, but you will be guided, as I say, by Professor Liam Gallagher, again, who's a very renowned academic, again, widely published in the literature, and therefore he's been down this road multiple times before, so he knows exactly how to get there. It is a process to be learned, and Liam will guide you all the way through. But so just to say, at the end of second year, then when you finish your exams, then you can concentrate exclusively on that for about a 6-week period, and you deliver your finished product then at the end of July in the second year. So again, remember, so it's starting September this year, and then you expect to finish with the end of July in second year. But the gap in the end of first year, you have a nice long summer during that period. So again, you can recharge your batteries then. So our schedule then, semester 1 starts mid-September. This year, actually, for the first time, we'll be getting it such that the exams are out of the way for Christmas. In prior years, and again, it was a source of complaint for a number of students over the years that the exams took place after Christmas. So in a sense, people couldn't enjoy their Christmas well. And that wasn't the problem last year, given how little we could actually do during Christmas time. But you'll be glad to know that should you choose to do the program this year, you'll get your first semester exams out of the way before Christmas, and therefore you'll have Christmas and Christmas and New Year's a good break, and you'll come back refreshed after that. So again, you come back in January. And again, as I say, 12 weeks, short break, and then finish your exams early May. And again, you're off for the summer. So again, you're not back till September. So it is, you've a great long 4-month period at the end of first year. Second year, it's a little bit different because obviously you're going to have the dissertation to complete. But again, it's not a heavy burden. So just if we look at the actual 3 separate modules in first semester, again, financial statement analysis, that's the foundation of anybody who's going to investments will need to be able to take apart the accounts of the firm that they're contemplating investing in. Likewise, if you're working in banking, you need to if you're going to lend to these people, you need to be able to take apart their financial statements and make sense of it. And of course, particularly if you're working in banking itself, or let's say working for a central bank, for example, you'll need to be able to understand the financial statements of banks that are actually whose reports you are now, let's say, looking at, or maybe who that you are now responsible for regulating. So therefore, financial statement analysis is a core skill. And again, we have Colin McCormack teaching that module. Colin himself is actually, again, works in that very area for Bank of Ireland. Colin himself is also a first-class honours graduate. A lot of the people who are working in this program are actually alumni of our own. And it's a criterion that they must have, is that they must have a first-class honours degree, and indeed all of them do. Banking regulation is taught by Pádraig Fogarty. Pádraig, again, is working in the central bank. He is the man for the model, the guy who does the modelling down in the central bank. So who better to teach than the guy who does it for a living? And again, corporate finance is taught by Keith Gore, again from AIB, himself a recent first-class honours graduate of the program. Again, Keith was again, like we have a number of graduates who come on who joined the course a little bit later, and Keith will be one such graduate. So he was already head of pensions in AIB when he came on the program, and again, he teaches corporate finance and does it to a very high standard, first-class honours graduate himself. So in second semester, then we have applied econometrics, and here we have Dr. Hiroyuki teaches that particular module. Again, he is a full-time academic. He's widely published in the literature, a very, very highly respected academic. And again, it is an academic topic, so therefore it's best taught by an academic himself. And again, what that does is it gives you the tools that will enable you to go off and undertake the research that you will be obliged to do during your working life. But also, those are the very tools that you'll need in order to do your dissertation during year 2. Again, theory of finance is taught by an academic, again, and again, because of the fact that it is a theory, we feel that it's better that it's taught by an academic. But again, what that does is it gives you the foundation. So it's not, so while I mentioned that we have a huge focus on the practicalities of finance, while we are equally concerned to know, to know that we are rigorous as well in our approach. So therefore, we have again our own DCU academic teaching that. And finally, there's derivatives, which I myself teach. And again, obviously, we know how important derivatives happen to be, and also they give us a way of framing other investment decisions. Because we start thinking about an options framework, and options really are a fundamental building block of finance. They come into every aspect of finance, and therefore we need to have a very good understanding of options and options valuations. And again, that's a module I've been teaching myself for many years. Then semester 2, we have equity case study. Again, here we have Ruth Lampkin, again, who's working in Mercer, and whose day job is assessing equities for investment purposes. And again, Ruth herself is a first-class honours graduate of the program, so she teaches that. So again, she's hugely relevant experience, and again, absolutely up to the minute, because as I say, on an ongoing basis, she herself is evaluating equities in order to make investments on behalf of shall we say, pension fund clients of Mercer's. Portfolio management theory, this has been taught by Shane Murphy, again, another first-class honours graduate of her own, who actually has been working in this area for 20 years for Irish Life investment managers. So again, who better to teach it than the man who's doing it all the time? And myself, I've been teaching this module for 20 years now, fixed income securities. And again, it is about the whole world of every fixed income, every type of fixed income debt, whether it's issued by sovereigns or by corporates, or indeed by retail customers, such as retail mortgages and so on. So we go and evaluate all those securities and deal with all the different risk aspects of those particular securities. Fine, and then finally, your final semester of all, we'll see you dealing again with fund management, which again, so we take the actual portfolio management theory, which Shane has talked about here, and he then expands upon that in second semester to apply it. So that's a very applied version of that. So it builds naturally on the first semester work. And again, Shane takes you through that. We have aviation finance with Dermot Hardy. Again, we've had quite a number of students working in aviation finance, and then we actually only more recently did we add this as a specific module. We feel that the other modules we always had equipped students to get there, and obviously the fact that they have those jobs indicates that clearly their employer thinks likewise. But nevertheless, now we have actually in more recent years have actually specifically added aviation finance as a specific module, recognizing the fact that Ireland really is the #1 location for aviation finance globally. And it's interesting talking to some of as a result of this, some of my former students came back and got in touch with me again, let's say via LinkedIn, and they some of them are again working in aviation finance. And I was delighted to see, in fact, that they're saying that the aviation finance industry has actually survived the lockdown very well. I mean, I thought that they'd be totally wiped out. A lot of the pain is being experienced obviously by the airline operators themselves, but their financial position is secure in the lesser market, and therefore, thankfully for them, the aviation finance market is actually still prospering. And again, final semester, banking, another module I teach myself. Again, having worked in banking for 21 years at this stage, and all the way through teaching this course. We added this course about 15 years ago. It's very much geared to we recognize that there was a core need for banking that really wasn't being met by any other program that we could see, and therefore we put in this module. And I have to say it's one that I really enjoy teaching. We get great feedback, great engagement from students there, because a lot of our students would be either working in central banks or in one of the banks. Again, international banks such as BNP or Citibank, or again, local banks, one of the 5, should we say, retail banks, although sadly soon to become 4, and so on. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, dissertation, that'll be taking place throughout year 2. So again, you will have, Liam will be, from the very first day you arrive in, on year 2, Liam will be having a specific class every week of the year all the way through. And again, the thinking is to try and, first of all, to motivate the idea. Again, our hope is that you'll have that seed will be planted during first year, and it'll be germinating over the summer of first year, between first and second year, and then when you come back in second year, you'll already have given some thought to it, and therefore Liam will allow you to put flesh on the bones, if you wish, and build a dissertation on that. And again, as I say, significant supports all the way throughout year 2. So then, how is it delivered? Well, at the moment, it's a combination of blended. At least our plan is to have it as a combination of blended learning. But of course, as I say, we know how volatile the situation is. The one thing that won't change is this one: online lectures. We for the longest period of time, we used to teach. Well, I suppose if we really want to go back to old God's time, shall we say, to the time when I was here myself. Sorry, excuse me, I don't know what happened there. So the longest period of time, as I say, we used to actually have lectures in, let's say, in DCU on Wednesdays. But then, in due course, we found, especially during the wet winter evenings, it was a challenge for people to get out there, and even for the 6 o'clock start. So then we moved into the city centre. So for quite a number of years, we used to have our lectures in the Clarion in the IFSC to try and make it as central as possible. But last year, in a sense, we were forced into the situation to do it. And now, having been forced, that we recognise, like a lot of other people, you know what, this makes sense in its own right, because we don't want you having to try and navigate the traffic on a busy Wednesday evening, and especially on a wet Wednesday in November, it's not exactly the time when you want to get stuck in traffic. So therefore, we have moved permanently online for the Wednesday evening lectures. So from here on in, you won't ever have to rush through traffic on a Wednesday evening. You can actually do it at your desk in the office if you're still there, or again, if you're lucky enough to make it home by that time. Well, then you know that when you come off the lecture at the end at 8 o'clock in the evening, that in fact that's it. You're done for the night, and you don't have to somehow drive home after it, or take public transport home. So the Wednesday evening, that's going to be a fixture, and again delivered on Zoom. So DCU on Saturday morning, that's still our goal. And again, I'm saying that in hope. Again, as I say, we've had our hopes dashed more than once in the past. Who would have thought this time last year we'd be talking about a third wave? But anyway, if there's a third wave or a fourth wave, or indeed if we never come out of this third wave, we will be ready to deal online. But our preferred option is Saturday mornings. Again, because again we have plenty of options. Saturday morning again has a blessing in that really we have the university to ourselves. We will pick a large lecture theatre, so nobody need be concerned that they'll be within 2 meters of another person. And if we still need to maintain social distancing, we can certainly do that quite easily. But as I say, our hope is that we can have that engagement, because again, as I say, for the longest period of time, I heard so many people who are 20 years on are still friends with the people they met on the program. And again, the amount of discussion that I hear taking place and so on, it always gives me a buzz, to be honest, because there really is a great collaboration and a great just banter as well as everything else. So, and again, our class sizes are small. I mean, I mentioned, roughly speaking, about 650 graduates. So thinking about that, it's roughly about 20 a year. I mean, between first and second year at the moment, we have, it's 40. I think it's 57 students at the moment between the 2 years. So roughly speaking, it's 25 is kind of the typical class size. And again, as I say, being that size, really, we get to know every one of you individually. And so access isn't an issue. I mean, realistically, you can call us at any stage, you can email us, and do as you will. And we encourage that, because after all, it makes my life easier as a lecturer to go off and to have you asking me questions, because again, in many respects, you're probably asking a question everybody else is thinking of asking, and therefore it actually goes off and plays into the actual whole educational experience. And again, we very much emphasize collaborative learning. I mean, your work is always collaborative. You never achieve anything on your own. You have to achieve it through other people, and again, by sharing skills. So we very much develop that, and therefore a lot of our assignments are actually group assignments. And again, as I say, I often say, and it's no false humility when I say it, I say that to people in class: you're as likely to learn as much from your fellow students as you are to learn from the person standing in the front of the room, because that's the nature of the debate. We in a sense set the agenda, but you yourselves go off through your own engagement with the lecturer and with one another, will actually go off and, if you like, create the learning environment which will allow us all to collectively to learn from one another. And again, as I say, please don't come and think you're going to sit in the corner and not say a word all year. No, it isn't like that. We do probe you and indeed encourage you. Some people don't need too much encouragement. Indeed, we might have to dial them back a little bit to give others, the quieter ones, more of a chance to speak. But absolutely, classroom discussion is central, and really we discuss the issues. And again, as I say, we're all adults, and therefore we don't. It's not as if somebody. We sometimes used to talk about the sage on the stage. That was the old model. Whereas now it's the guide on the side. It's the lecturer who's delivering the class. In some sense, it's just he or she is setting the agenda, but is not driving the discussion. And that's very much a collaborative effort. And again, the good news is really the days of having to go off and wait. Oh gosh, I don't know what happens there again. Excuse me. So what happens the days when you have to go off over to the library and you find that the book you were looking for is gone is actually, those days are actually long since gone. So in actual fact, we have, so every resource you ever want is available online, and you can get it at midnight on a Thursday night if you want to do it, or any other time for that matter. So it's really available to you 24/7. It's unlikely you'll ever need to use the library. The only times maybe when people explicitly have to use the libraries when they're looking for, let's say, past dissertations and so on. But almost all the resources we have are available online and available from your own home. And again, indeed, should you wish it, on the phone, although I must say I wouldn't fancy reading those on my phone now. But so really an excellent library. Really, I couldn't speak highly enough for it. So what do we need of you? Well, as I say, first of all, the program, as I mentioned earlier, is postgraduate post-experience. So the first thing is post-experience tells its own story. We need you to have experience, and more especially, we need you to be in a working environment, because we want you to come and contribute what you learn from your own working environment to the classroom experience. And therefore, as I say, you must be working in financial services, or you must have a business / math / accounting background. So again, we want you to have learned either you're actually working in financial services again, or you actually currently come from one of these backgrounds and working in, possibly not necessarily in financial services directly, but you have a background which will enable you to move into financial services. So we find some people who actually see it as an opportunity for them to guide their career to working in financial services, and therefore they're not currently there. But the important thing is they are working. And again, so experience counts. So literally for some of our very best students are those who never had a formal degree. So this would be, they're doing a master's without ever having done an undergraduate, because they're actually they were learned by sitting by Nelly, if you wish. They came directly from undergraduate, and they worked their way up through, let's say, branch banking or whatever it happened to be, often to a very senior level. And then they suddenly say to themselves, you know what, wouldn't it be nice to, first of all, to have a framework to put around all of what I've learned, as I say, sitting by Nelly, by learning, by doing over all these years. And again, those people often are the smartest people, because they've learned in the school of hard knocks. So therefore, they bring a great great wisdom to the classroom. And again, so the age range therefore is very wide indeed. I mean, we have the youngest might be as young as 23, maybe had graduated the previous summer, and therefore they're joining, but they're already working. And then some of them, again, especially more likely the latter group who are up towards 50 years of age, they would be ones who maybe are now deciding, well, look, at this stage, in order to finally make it onto the executive suite, I need to go off and have something to more or less tick that box, if you wish. In a sense, get the qualification to prove I didn't need it in the first place, because that's what a lot of people who are really experienced, they already know so much, they already know all this material, but they just don't have a framework on which to hang it, and that's what we actually give to them. But as I say, the median age is very much around 27 or thereabouts. And again, I suppose I could ask you, well, is the mean higher or lower than the median? But I won't. But yeah, I hope you realise it is higher. So where will you find our graduates? Well, the answer is pretty much everywhere. But really, banking and central bank will probably be the biggest single cohort. Maybe something to over 30 to 35% of our students will be working in one of those areas. Again, increasingly, we're finding our students working in these areas, because again, funds, investment houses are a huge component of the financial markets right now, and increasingly they're finding work there, or they're coming to us from there, whereby they want to go off and get a more rigorous education, should we say. They might have come to working in these areas maybe through another graduate program, for example, but then they feel, well, you know what, I missed out. I didn't do accounting and finance. I didn't do commerce, or I didn't do some other more obviously finance-related course in my undergraduate years. Therefore, I'd like to go off and fill that gap now, if you wish. And so people come to us from that. And again, obviously, of course, as I say, not only do they come to those places, but they also end up going to those places. And again, our MITB graduate is a very attractive proposition. Again, I constantly get mails asking me to circulate job ads on the intranet here, because they know that they are fishing in a very rich pool. Non-bank financial institutions, you can think of whether it's Finance Ireland or Dillis or any one of those other entities which is again engaging in financial services, but they don't do the banking license. So a lot of them are coming from there. Again, aircraft lessors, I mentioned, I suspect it probably of the order of, maybe at least 2 or 3 students every year now find themselves either coming to us already working in an aircraft leasing company, or actually going to an aircraft leasing company on foot of the qualification. And again, corporate treasury, we've always had let's say a very good kind of track record of having people placed with corporate treasury. Let's say not only treasuries within banks. I mean, let's say the head of treasury, and let's say that the treasurer for permanent TSB, for example, would be an alumnus of ours. But again, we had the treasury in let's say the Grafton group and so on like that. People like that, you'll find them there as well. Fund managers, especially as I mentioned, are very keen, let's say, should we say, recruiters of our graduates, but equally our people come from fund management. Again, what they're doing is they're looking to move up along. And again, consultants, Big Four, every one of them, Mercer, Accenture, again, you think of them, they've all of those people are people, you'll find them there, and also they come from there as well. And again, I suppose the really important thing is AIM will take you to the next level. We find that a lot of people, let's say, they might be working in fund accounting, for example, they say to themselves, well, you know what, do I want to be doing this job, let's say, accounting for other people's actions in 10, 15 years from now? They say, well, actually, no, not really. I'd rather be making the decision about what assets to buy rather than accounting for the decision that's to somebody else's decision to buy that asset in the first place. So therefore, in that sense, they say, this is my way, if you like, my exit strategy. And again, the important thing though is at every stage you'll understand your business better, and people will recognize that in the way you undertake your work, and therefore you will almost immediately, automatically, if you like, identify yourself as being, first of all, for having done the course, you already stand out as being somebody who's willing to do the hard yards. And then the second one is that you, on the foot of that knowledge, you will just understand the business that you're in better. So whether it's banking or fund management or whatever, you will understand it better. And again, ultimately, the idea is you take this leadership role. You are equipped to do that, and therefore you will have the technical expertise. Obviously, there are any other number of skills you need to be a leader. Obviously, people management and all the rest of it. We can't help you there, I'm afraid, but we can certainly give you the technical skills that will equip you to be able to understand the challenges facing your industry and understand how to respond to them. So in that sense, that's a kind of a whistle-stop tour of let's say, the program. And ultimately, what I'd like to do now is more or less to throw it open to questions. I'm not sure, again, whether, Ciara, you've been receiving any questions or not.